Hi, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the next edition of the Vet Method podcast, where we bring team training concepts to independent veterinary practice owners who want to grow revenues through a high-performance team. My name is Sanjay Mangabai, and I'm very pleased to be joined today by Kathleen Cooney. Hi, Kathleen, welcome.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be here.
So whereabouts are you today?
I am in Colorado, kind of on the north central side of the state. It's beautiful, around 90 degrees. So I'm inside in the air conditioning and looking forward to a beautiful weekend.
Okay, moving quickly on because it's pretty gloomy and grim in the UK at the moment. Okay, so a little bit about Kathleen. She's a veterinarian certified in hospice palliative care. She's also a certified compassion fatigue provider and has been practicing advanced end-of-life care since 2006. She is Director of Education for Companion Animal Euthanasia Training Academy, CAETA, and Chief Medical Officer of Caring Pathways. And the title of the podcast today is Euthanasia Requires a Team Effort, and I'm very keen to talk about that for the next few minutes. Okay, Kathleen, our time starts now. So question number one, who is your ideal client?
Thank you, Sanjay. You know, at CAETA, we say it's anyone who can benefit from advanced euthanasia training. So it's really the entire veterinary team. That's going to include veterinarians, veterinary nurses or technicians, the assistants, practice managers, and now veterinary social workers too, who are really gaining popularity and use here in the United States. So CAETA's education really is going to serve all of those who want to learn a better approach to euthanasia. And since we offer both online and in-person trainings, everyone can access our education. So all over the world, which is part of the reason it's CAETA International, right? It's we're not just targeting here in the United States. So when we do get a chance to do the in-person events, we have those who have been in vet med for years and are just looking for a better way to provide euthanasia, all the way down to veterinary students who might be either about to graduate or are just in the first week of practice, right, that really want to get it right. So our trainings, though, are in general are perfect for those who are life learners and love to care for the dying. They gravitate towards our academy and to our wonderful instructors. Absolutely.
So what I'm hearing is that it's anyone who has to consider or deal or be exposed to euthanasia in pets, and it's everyone in the veterinary team. And I'm glad you mentioned managers as well, because it affects the whole practice when a euthanasia or when a euthanasia appointment has been booked in or is going on. Fantastic. Okay, so perfect. That leads us nicely on to question number two. What's the biggest problem your clients face and how do you solve it?
So our veterinary teams, we think the biggest problem they face that we try to solve is to eliminate what we call dysthanasia, which CAETA defines as a technically challenging euthanasia that's going to cause the pet pain or distress and is very emotionally hard on those present, right? So that's going to include clients and the veterinary team. And no one wants euthanasia to go poorly. But the reality is it happens, and it will happen more often to those who aren't sure how to troubleshoot when things get tricky. So we increase compassion satisfaction and empower teams to find fulfillment in death care. So CAETA sees this as a real opportunity to sustain vet med for the long term. And as the field of animal hospice develops, we find more and more veterinary professionals leaning towards this line of work. So CAETA is going to give veterinary professionals the tools to perform outstanding euthanasia, including communication skills, emotional intelligence, resiliency, and a strong understanding of death as a whole.
Okay, so you covered a lot there, but you started with dealing with the technically difficult euthanasia cases. Yeah, I can identify that for sure. When a euthanasia goes well, it's great. But there are times with the best intentions that it just doesn't go according to plan. And it's knowing what to do in those situations when you're under a bit of pressure, the owner is standing in front of you, and the euthanasia is just not going the way you expected or you anticipated. Dealing with that is difficult. So that's really important. Yeah.
It is. It can be absolutely crippling, so it's about empowering vet professionals and the entire team to work together to try to prevent that. And then once it does happen, how to troubleshoot and go forward.
Fantastic. Okay. Question number 3. What are the typical symptoms people experience with that problem? They're sort of pain points.
Yeah, those pain points. So when a dysphagia happens, or people are struggling with euthanasia work in general, we find that they're going to develop what we call compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue is a combination of burnout and secondary traumatic stress, right? It's really hard to see what could be considered primary traumatic stress happening in front of us between the pet struggling, the family struggling. And if we're not in the right physical state of being, we, the vet team, can develop secondary traumatic stress, right? And of course, if it's a dysphagia, we ourselves can be experiencing primary traumatic stress. So all of that lends itself to compassion fatigue. And we're going to find that the desire for the team to avoid euthanasias altogether starts to happen, right? They might not want to go into their room. They might want to turf the appointment off to somebody else to handle it. So that really starts to break down the kind of the compassionate nature of the team, and it can kind of even lead to a toxic environment. And I've had vet professionals reach out to CAETA, to me in particular, saying that they're ready to leave vet med forever because they never want to euthanize again. And if this is the case, then something's wrong. So CAETA tries to remove the stigma that death is a failure and instead shift the focus to what we call euharmony. So euharmony is the idea that the euthanasia appointment could be the most relaxing part of the team's day, where CAETA instructs on how to create the perfect comfort room where everyone actually wants to spend time honoring the life and death of that beloved pet. That's really what it's all about.
Absolutely. So you touched on some important points there. You mentioned compassion fatigue, which no one really prepares you for. You don't know how you're going to react when you're new to this, apart from the owners, the pet owners in the room. And it's knowing how to manage those emotions. And in practice, in a busy practice, you sometimes have a puppy vaccination and the emotions are different with that, followed by a euthanasia, and then the emotions are obviously a complete contrast to that. And dealing with that can be really challenging in practice, I found, and trying to coach people to do that is quite difficult. So thank you for that. Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah, you can ping pong back and forth all day long from different types of appointments. What we also find is that because we're so busy in a hospital, we get kind of ratcheted up in sympathetic tone, right? We're really not necessarily on edge, but we're really rather intense. And so the concept of euharmony is to let's just calm down. Let's slow things down for a little bit, relax, reset to that parasympathetic tone. That's going to help minimize compassion fatigue, that secondary traumatic stress. We find that so important, and CAETA is a big advocate of that.
Yeah, you mentioned an important thing about part of the euharmony. Most vets would rather have their teeth pulled than talk about euthanasia or money in practice. Okay, and you do avoid it, but it's turning it around and saying, actually, this is a privilege. It is a kindness that we're offering, in euthanizing a pet gently and kindly, peacefully, and pain-free, which is probably the goal of euthanasia. Absolutely.
Love it. You're speaking right to my heart.
Okay, so question number 4. What are the common mistakes people make when trying to solve that problem? The things they thought they were going to work, but were never going to. The things they try but fail.
Yes, perfect. So most don't realize they are following some old euthanasia practices. So what CAETA is finding is that clients expect more, and most vet teams are under delivering. So with the growth of the human-animal bond, clients really want a more peaceful and memorable experience, more than just what I'm going to kind of refer to as like a transaction. Let's just get this done, get this over with, and get everybody on their way. So to perform euthanasia the best way, it's a common mistake to think that IV administration of a barbiturate is the only option. There are many more these days. So CAETA trains all of the intra-organ techniques used in companion animals. We inform about the alternatives to barbiturates, which in 2021 were in short supply, depending on where your audience is listening to this right now, right? So pentobarbital has been in short supply here in the United States for a while, and in Canada and other countries. So we're a big fan of what we refer to as Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, and knowing when to switch gears for the safety of the pet and witnesses. So a common mistake is thinking that what's been done for a long time with euthanasia is the only option. There are a lot more things coming about, again, with these different techniques and with the way that we can support these families.
Okay, yeah, very succinctly put, because, there is more than one way. And there's a lot of drugs these days, and I know if sedation, pre-euthanasia sedation is a pretty common practice, or it's becoming more common now. That's just so true. Fantastic. Okay, question number 5. What is one valuable free action that someone listening to this can implement that will help them solve that problem? What's your top tip, in other words?
Well, again, you're speaking right to my heart, because you just brought up pre-euthanasia sedation or anesthesia. That's my number one bit of advice or action that they can implement. So to start today, providing pre-euthanasia sedation or anesthesia before anything else. So what I mean by that is to greet the pet when they come into the hospital, or if it's home euthanasia, right, just build some of that rapport. Before anything really technical is done, like trying to find a vein or something else, just go ahead and give a subcutaneous or intramuscular drug combination of your choice, and CAETA certainly teaches all of those combinations that are available to induce sleep. And once the pet is sleeping, then you can start the technical stuff. So why this is so important is that it reduces pain and anxiety for the pet and the client, which we've learned is their number one concern during euthanasia. So no one wants their pet to hurt. And since euthanasia has no do-overs, we have to avoid pain from the very beginning. So thinking about the fact that most of us want our pets to pass in their sleep, peaceful and comfortable, pre-euthanasia sedation or anesthesia makes this possible. And it's going to open up a lot more options for those alternative techniques that might need to be reached for based on the pet's signalment and overall health. Absolutely.
Clients are really appreciative, we've been doing that for a couple of years, and made it mandatory, at least for our vets, the sedation, the pre-euthanasia sedation. And it's surprising how comforting it is for owners. And also, we talked about the complications that when the euthanasia doesn't go right, when a pet is already sedated and seems comfortable, then it's kind of easier to deal with a situation where the euthanasia doesn't go the way you planned it, rather than have an animal struggling and getting very distressed, and then the owner becoming distressed as well. Thank you. That's a really good tip. Okay, let's go to question number 6. Only 2 questions to go. What is one valuable resource that you can direct people to that will further help?
So I think the best resource we can put out there is to direct everybody to the CAETA website. All right. So that's where our audience here can go and learn about everything that CAETA has to offer. Again, CAETA stands for the Companion Animal Euthanasia Training Academy. We have right now over 30 hours of content, some of which is already on the website, some of which is just about to get up there. And it includes our 10-hour master program. So that's a certificate program that highlights the essential components of gentle euthanasia, that includes education in both those hard and soft skills we all need. And so those of you within hospitals who could use a boost to your euthanasia SOPs, You can also bring in the CAETA team for hospital-wide training. So it doesn't just have to be one person on the team. We can go in and train the whole team. And this is going to take into account the team's existing culture, demographics, their typical euthanasia appointment volume, and much more. So we love that hospital training program as much as we do the master program and everything else that we have available. And if you haven't picked up on this from me already, we just love to teach. So we've got a great team of instructors ready to serve. So going to CAETAinternational.com, and again, CAETA is CAETA, CAETAinternational.com. That's going to be the best free resource today to get started. And we're also building up a library of some free modules that are always available just to kind of get things kick-started and help everybody to join what we call the Good Death Revolution.
Wow, that's a fantastic resource, Kathleen. And just to be clear, you do in-person training as well as online training. Is that right? Awesome. Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, I was actually in the UK 2 years ago. We were actually teaching up at University of Edinburgh, but we're working on figuring out other ways to get to the UK, but we've got trainings here in the United States, Canada. We're building relationships down in Australia. So again, all over the world to try to assist for those who want to do the in-person trainings. But otherwise, the online program, the master program, and all those modules are already available, ready to go today.
Fantastic. And finally, question number 7. What's the one question, Kathleen, that I should have asked you that I didn't?
Yeah, so we talked about the resources. We talked about a lot of good information about how to reduce away those pain points. My number one free tip of advice is to slow down during euthanasia.
Okay.
Take time to build rapport with the clients. This is going to help everyone to relax, to breathe easier, to feel safe and supported. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is just take a deep breath, a deep sigh. And hopefully people will do the same. Our clients will do the same. Pets often do the same. But the benefit of slowing down and building rapport is that it builds trust. And when that happens, everybody in the room starts to produce oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love hormone.
Yeah.
So that's going to put the clients more at ease, as well as our vet team. And that's going to lead to a more tranquil experience. So one of my favorite sayings, Sanjay, is that when in doubt, ask yourself, what's the most loving thing I can do right now for this family? And that's always going to set the right tone. You'll be glad you did.
That's a really good tip, Kathleen. Thank you. I think it was Maya Angelou who said, people don't remember what you do, but they do remember how you make them feel. And if you can make them feel, the compassion at that euthanasia appointment, then that's the ultimate goal, even probably above the technical skills. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Thank you for your really, really valuable insights into a very important and often underestimated topic. I genuinely wish you well in your mission to help the veterinary team members gain the skills they need to make each euthanasia appointment a peaceful and a memorable experience. And I'm sure our listeners will take away some really valuable insights. Once again, thank you, Kathleen, for your time today.
You're welcome.